We know repetition is key when learning anything, and guitar is no different, but repetition with purpose is so important. If you're taking a scale shape and just playing it from top to bottom every time, that can take some people a long time to set it to memory. But by playing it the way I'm going to show you means you are much more likely to lock it in far quicker, and it will also work wonders for helping develop your overall playing ability. Let's take a standard C major scale. We'll start easier with one that only goes across 3 strings. We're going to put our second finger onto the 3rd fret of the A. Our little finger then comes across to the 5th fret of the A. Second finger goes to the 2nd fret of the D. Second finger 3rd fret of the D. Little finger 5th fret. We then go to the G 2nd fret, 4th, 5th. I'm on the tips of my fingers so we're not interfering with any of the strings underneath, and you can really pull the detail of that note out, and we are alternating our picking. Down, up, one after the other. And if we reverse that. Now, as much as we're only playing 7 notes there across 3 strings, if you've not done scales before, that can be a tricky thing to lock in and set to memory. So what I recommend is, rather than just trying to memorise that whole shape in one go, playing 1 note at a time, we go back and forth. I'll show you what I mean. We play the first note, second, which is our D. We then go back to the C. We then play the D, but we add E. Then we go back to the C, our starting point. We add 1 note every time. C, D, C, D, E. Not only are you working your memory so you're remembering what these notes are and the position they're in, but your muscle memory, having to play those notes more often, is so good for your technique. And on the note of technique, asking your fingers to go back to that first position is doing so much more work than it would if you were just playing that same shape over and over again, trying to iron out those creases, trying to play at a faster pace. That's great and that's really good. I'm not putting that technique down, but as another way to mix up your practice, especially if you're struggling to remember, just go back. And then reverse the shape. You're asking your fingers to do so many different things. It's great for keeping yourself on your toes and really building that skill and overall technique. Usually if we were just reversing, we know what's coming next. Eventually we know what's coming next. But if you're asking your fingers to do what I'm suggesting, there's so much extra thought that goes in, and your fingers have to do new things. A little finger ending on that D, it can just roll down to start that C note again. Our second finger has now got to stretch not just across 2 frets, but across 2 strings. When we get back to this D note on the 5th fret of the A, our little finger's now got to jump to that 5th fret of the G. And then if you wanna, when you end on the root note, the C, you've got to do this octave stretch. Again, something new in your locker to work on. Same as when we were going up. We've got different stretches and different movements. I find some people, some early beginner students, struggle when they have to go from this F, C, D, E, F, back up to C. They'll bring their fingers too far away and start to adjust that shape again. Just roll your second finger across. When you get up to that B note, have your second finger waiting. It's doing a new stretch that it wouldn't have to do otherwise if you weren't practicing in this way. You play that B note, a second finger is ready to get back to that root. Love it. Another way to develop finger strength, set something to memory, and take your playing a bit further is to play it with just 1 finger. Suddenly, there's a whole host of movements your fingers wouldn't have to do otherwise. You really have to think on your toes. This was taught to me by a tutor who came from a very classical background, and you'll see a lot of violin players take this approach to their scales. It's brilliant for developing their technique. Let's take that theory of 1 a bit further and just play the scale on 1 string. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Familiarising ourselves with the notes, not just the shape, We want to hear what we're creating. Hear when there's a bit of tension. Hear when it resolves. So important to train our ears as well as our fingers. There's no point just playing shapes over and over again, expecting us to become a real rounded guitarist. There's always work to be done. Once you're comfortable with one finger, bring in the rest. So you've got a new stretch going on. We're going third and fifth with our first and third finger. 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. Trying to get that smoothness to what we're playing. We want that to flow really nice and really clean. Let's go back to that initial idea, but put it across 6 strings this time to take things a bit further. We're going to go to D major, just to mix things up a bit. 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 11, 12, 9, 11, 12 again, 10, 12, 9, 10. And let's utilise that back and forth principle. See all those different stretches that come around because of this approach? Really got to get your fingers prepared to start the scale again as you get higher up. Maybe just focus on those last two, the roots of the high and the low. Hard little jump to create. Training your fingers to be able to bounce from place to place like that when there's quite a distance between the strings or the frets or both is going to be brilliant for your development as you go along your guitar learning journey. If you're going to start to shred, solo, play complicated chords, bounce up and down the fretboard effortlessly, it's really important that you get all these techniques and little bits of training implemented whenever you can. And obviously reverse that. All the way back to the top. Try this everywhere. Scales you already know to mix up your practice, to keep your technique developing, to test your fingers, to get them doing new things. Go back to those scales you already know and start to build them like this and see how it makes your fingers, your hands, your brain work in a different way. It'll really challenge you. We want to get confident with everything we're playing, but we don't want to get complacent. That's when our technique can stutter and be hindered. So always look for little ways that you can challenge yourself. Maybe add some hammer-ons and pull-offs on the way down. Have fun and get creative. There are a load more tips like this in my free beginner guitar course. If you want to learn more finger exercises, chords, a bit of theory, some classic songs and riffs, then check the link in the description, completely free of charge. I love this technique and the impact it can have, but there's another approach to guitar exercises that's brilliant for improving your overall playing ability. So check this video next to start adding that method to your practice. Big thank you for watching. I'll hopefully see you in another video soon. Give me a shout if you've got any questions. Take care.